Hello and welcome to this NetScaler live demo. Thank you everyone for joining us today. We have a really good session, something that the community has been asking about for a long time, and that is a way to automate gateway configuration. Today, we are going to take a look at automation. Automation is massively important in terms of how you can optimize the configuration of NetScaler in terms of the employee effort it takes to do something. We all know the old adage of being a good sysadmin in the old days would only type a command 3 times. The first time he would type it, the second time he would realize that he's typing it again, he would put it into a script, and the third time he just calls a script, right? So we don't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again. Automation takes all this complexity out of our everyday lives. It removes the human element where we make typos and that kind of thing. So it's definitely more stable and makes it much faster for us to do complex architectures. Konstantinos is going to talk to us about golden templates. Stephen is going to talk to us the gateway configuration and show us some demos. And we have Rohit going to talk to us through about golden Terraform templates, looking at LDAP and radius. So over to you, Konstantinos.
Thank you very much, Ronan. First of all, it's nice to meet everyone again. We have already started talking about the NetScaler automation toolkit many times. We already had a couple of sessions. As a matter of fact, we discussed 2 weeks ago. Just a reminder for everyone, what is NetScaler automation toolkit? It's all about doing automation configuration, continuous configuration, infrastructure as code. Actually, you are doing DevOps for a NetScaler configuration and infrastructure, for network infrastructure. So whenever you see that you need any help on these topics, please reach out to us, this email, NetScaler automation toolkit @cloud.com, and we are happy to help you. So what is the NetScaler automation toolkit and why this is important? It consists of, let's say, declarative templates or APIs that gives you the ability to automate day 0 to day N operations with, let's say, easier, as Ronan described, and you can also make NetScaler part of your, let's say, DevOps practices, your automation pipelines, and all of these, let's say, good things. So what is the focus area of our work? To give you the ability to make NetScaler part of the DevOps practices in the automation pipelines. How you can do that? You can use a number of tools to automate all operations from provisioning to, let's say, even monitoring. And you can do all these things: provisioning, platform configurations, application-related configurations, upscaling and upgrades, the day 2 operations, and finally, also get all the information from your devices, the health of the device, let's say, anything related to logs, metrics, etc. But if we stick, let's say, to the infrastructure as code part, under, let's say, each one of these steps, you can see all the tools that we are supporting. We have AWS CloudFormation scripts, ARM templates, let's say, Google Deployment Manager templates, Terraform and Ansible for all of the steps, because we are also providing providers and Ansible modules for all of our components, for ADC, for SDX, ADM, and for BLX. And all functionalities can be supported using infrastructure as code. But the topic for today is all around how you can work around creating baseline configuration. And why this is important? Because when you are creating baselines, this empowers you to achieve, let's say, operational excellence. Why this is important? Because you will have better productivity. That means that you will have faster deployments, faster configuration. It will also increase the agility with quick and easy processes. It will also give you the ability to have consistent configuration. That means that you will have a standardized, let's say, way of setup of the NetScalers, and you will have also consistent configuration in a safe way. meaning that you will not have surprises. You will have a template that is going to be responsible to do the configuration. It will also minimize the human error. As Ronan described, we have seen in many times that due to work overload, due to a simple human error, you will end up, let's say, configuring something in the wrong manner and, having, let's say, a wrong configuration. Apart from that, baseline configuration is important for security and compliance. We've all been there. We have all been there. We know how important it is to comply with certain regulations, to comply with security requirements. So by having the ability to create templates, you are making sure that for any possible deployment, you are following the correct best practices. And of course, when you are using, let's say, templates, you are reviewing many times the templates. You are using a single template every time. So you are following best practices, and this means that you can also optimize your operations. You are keeping, let's say, only the required components when operating, only the required, let's say, environments running, and all of these things. What is our answer to that? For the last couple of, let's say, months, we were working on an initiative to create Golden Terraform templates. What that means, it means that by using, let's say, Golden templates, you are using a predefined infrastructure as code template that allows administrators to deploy systems consistently with clear and known configuration that follows the best practices that NetScaler is offering, meaning that we are working internally with the relevant feature teams, with our security department, with all the folks internally in NetScaler, and we are creating infrastructure as code templates, Terraform templates in our ways, in our case, so that we are making sure that by using this template, you are going to follow the best practices. For today, we are going to focus on Golden templates for gateway. We are going to focus on the radius and LDAP configuration. With this, we have together with us also Steven, who is the PM for the simplified gateway workstream. And we are working together, the automation team and the simplified gateway team, to create all these good templates that follows the best practices. I will handle this now to Steven to give us a background about the work that the gateway team is doing and what are all the good, let's say, templates and best practices that they offer to us.
Thank you very much. Around the end of last year, we went out to the CTPs, the SE community, to the Partner Expert Council, and we asked, what are you deploying? What gateways are people seeing? What is NetScaler being used for? The predominant answer that came back was that NetScaler is widely being used for gateway. And for deployments, there are three main types of gateway deployment people are doing on premises today. And the first one of those types was gateway ICA proxy with SAML authentication, followed by gateway ICA proxy with LDAP and radius authentication, and gateway with OAuth for Citrix Cloud integration. Now, one of the problems that was stated was it's actually quite challenging to know how to do all of the best practices with that. There are leading practices which certain people do, but they might differ from what somebody else does. What we wanted was a clear stake in the ground, which said, this is how we would recommend you did that deployment. And if anybody disagreed with it, that was fine. We could go back and edit it. We could have that versioned, we could make it publicly available, and we could clearly evidence this is the recommended way to do that. And we could provide a single source for somebody to go to, read a full example customer design of saying this is an example customer who wants to achieve X, Y, and Z. This is the path we're going to take to achieve those things. And here are all of the technical settings necessary in order to achieve it. And critically, here is an explanation for each of those settings that we're going to implement. So we wrote that. That comes to about 46 pages. It's quite large in each of those documents. And then we finished those documents off by creating command lines for everything, so that you could go and copy and paste the configuration into a completely blank pair of NetScaler VPXs. And it would build you a high availability pair with the copy and paste. It would build all of the necessary settings, and you would be able to go from a completely blank environment to a production ready system in about 30 minutes or so. And of course, that's great because it really accelerates the start to finish deployment. It removes the fat fingering, the mistakes which can happen, and it simplifies the deployment process in so much as the level of knowledge now needed to implement is, of course, much lower. And we made those designs freely available. Partners and customers can customize the reference designs. You can put customer-specific content in, rapidly adapt the content that's needed by adding small branding and EULA options and so forth. And they've been really well received. We've provided the community for some time now, and I'll put the links up in a second. But although those are brilliant, they're a point-in-time configuration. I could come in January and run those commands, but of course in February, after I've left, maybe somebody makes a change. Maybe something happens where we need to either to redeploy or we need to fix that environment and rapidly detect the changes, which of course is where managed state configurations come in. So what I'm showing here are those reference designs that we talked about. They've all in Microsoft Word format. They're all easily consumable. They've all got all of the CLI commands in there, and they are really, really powerful. But of course, they don't give you a managed state, and it is a managed state I think most people will want, because again, it can be self-healing and it can correct issues. So if I move on to the next slide. So what you've got here is QR codes, which will take you directly to each of those 3 articles. Again, they're in Microsoft Word format. They'll just open straight up for you. You will be able to download them, edit them. You can scan the QR codes with your phone, of course, or alternatively, you can just follow the bit.ly links rather, which are on there. If we move on to the next slide, please. So let's have a little bit of a look at our topology, at our demo environment. The environment which we're trying to create is what I want to explain to you here. We're trying to build an environment where at one, we have a user who connects remotely. He types into his web browser, remote.mycoolcompany.com, and that connects him to a NetScaler. The NetScaler environment that he's connected to runs an on-premises gateway configuration. And before it does anything else, of course, it asks him for his credentials, username, password, 2-factor code. The NetScaler then takes that and it connects to the Radius server, and it first of all validates the Radius credential that the user's provided. Now, critically, it's reversed the format. It took the username, the password, and then the Radius code, but actually it's going to check Radius first, because the way we want to process isn't necessarily the way the user wants to type it in. So the user's connected at 1. The NetScaler has checked their Radius credential at 2. The NetScaler has checked their LDAP credential at 3. And then, assuming those credentials are correct, because of course the user won't get in if they're not, it's going to pass the user through using single sign-on into an on-premises CVAD environment to access their published Word and desktops and applications. So Storefront now appears. When Storefront appears, Storefront, as it usually does, will enumerate the apps and desktops that are available. Now, let's say that I select Microsoft Word, and I select that, and Storefront says Microsoft Word is on server 14. Well, what we don't want to do is to say, here's the IP address and all the details about our internal CVAD environment and pass that outside of the organization. So what Storefront does is Storefront connects to something called an STA, a Secure Ticket Authority, inside of the CVAD environment, and it takes that data of Stephen wants Word, it's on server 14, it's all ready for him, and it puts it on that short-lived STA service at step 5. And the STA responds back and says, here's an identifier for me, the STA server, and here's a 32-character alphanumeric code. And Storefront puts that into an ICA file, which is then sent down to the end user's laptop. So again, from the end user's perspective, at 1, username, password, at 2, 3, checking the credentials, at 4, single sign-on into Storefront. Storefront, of course, when I click on Word, makes Word ready, and all of the data for where is Word lives on the STA, and that's passed down, as I said, in the ICA file. The user's browser, of course, receives the ICA file. It loads up the historic Citrix receiver client, or it loads Workspace client up, and Workspace client now connects at 6 back to the NetScaler and says, hey, I want an ICA session, and I've got this STA ticket server ID followed by this special STA ticket number. The NetScaler says, great, I know where that STA server is. And the NetScaler connects to that STA server, which of course has been defined with those command line configuration steps that I referenced a few minutes ago inside of the Word document. So the Netscaler connects to the SDA, retrieves all that data for Stephen clicked Word, it's ready on server 14, and then at step 8, it connects to Word or the pooled desktop as I've drawn here or whatever it might be, and the user gets a full end-to-end piece of connectivity. So what we've provided there is we've provided that full end-to-end service where we've assumed you begin with a production ready CVAD environment, and we're now ready to integrate NetScaler. So is this nice and visible? You can see this working now?
Yeah.
I'm going to take that as a yes. Excellent.
Yeah.
So I've just run through the configuration. What I'm going to share now is my lab environment. And what you can see here is 2 blank VPXs, which I've created. This is VMware running on my Mac Mini, but it's how I'm doing the testing. You've got 2 completely blank VPXs. I've got a Windows domain controller. My Windows domain controller has got a service account, which I've configured to allow the Netscaler to do LDAP authentication. I said I was going to do Radius. So I've got a completely free Radius platform sitting here, but it could be anything. Effectively, it's Microsoft NPS waiting for connection coming in from the Netscaler SNP with a shared secret. And then, as I said, I've got my CVAD environment, where my CVAD environment has got Storefront ready and configured for me to go and launch that remote connection. And that's pretty much it. So it's a completely stock standard environment with 2 entirely blank VPXs that I can now start to configure. If I jump on to the next slide here, Rohit, shall I hand over to you at this point?
Thanks, Stephen. Welcome all to this demo session. So now I'm going to demonstrate Golden Terraform templates that we have built to configure gateway deployments. So as of now, we have 2 empty Netscalers that has no configuration. And here we have 2 steps, that is to configure HA, as well as the second step is to apply the gateway configuration to the primary node of the primary Netscaler. So before moving on, I'm going to explain a bit about what is Terraform. So Terraform is an open source infrastructure as a code tool, wherein it provides a user to define their whole infrastructure in the form of a configuration files. So configuration files is nothing but it contains all the necessary Netscaler information that the user has to provide and necessary resources that the user should provide, so that those configuration will be applied to the target machine. So now I'm going to demonstrate how this Terraform works internally. So we have 2 steps here, as I said, configuring HA as well as configuring gateway deployments. And we have a Terraform configuration files already written, and I'm going to go through each one of these files briefly. So we have something called variable files, wherein we have declared a variable which are necessary for this configuration. And next we have example.tf vars, wherein we have assigned the values to the variable, which will be used in the main configuration file. So we have something called main.tf, which will contain the actual configuration that are necessary to configure the target Netscaler. So in this, we have something called resource block. So resource block, what it is it is an individual command that needs to be executed. So here you can see here it is a NSCLI command, and here the equivalent Terraform resource block that we have. So whenever we write this, we inform Terraform that this is a resource that we need to have, that is HA node. We need to add to the target Netscaler and with the attributes IP address as well as a node ID. So this is about a resource block. So here I'm explaining one of the resource block. Like that, we have so many resource block here that are used to configure the Netscalers. And the 4th file that we have is versions.tf file. So version.tf file will have something called provider block. It will have a necessary username and password credentials that are necessary for the Netscaler, that are necessary for the Terraform to contact the Netscaler and push the configurations to the same. And yeah, this is about the HA. And the second step is configure LDAP and Radius. Similarly, we have same variable.tf file, wherein we have declared the variables that are necessary for this configuration. And the next file is example.tf var, wherein we have given the values to the variables. Example, here we are providing the SSL certificates and basic routing, basic networking, adding the route to the system. Whenever user has these templates, all the user needs to do is just modify the example.tf vars according to their needs. So example, they may have different certificate number, they can provide it here, and if they want to add any basic networking components, they can add it here, single route, multiple routes, etc. So all the user needs to do is just modify this example.tf vars. And in the main.tf vars, we have actual resource. So we have actual resource, and these resources will be implemented or pushed to the target ADC that we specify. And in the version.tf, we have a necessary NetScaler credentials present so that the Terraform will execute those to the target NetScaler. So this is it about Terraform. So if you guys want any hands-on Terraform, you can definitely visit our NetScaler community portal, and under lab section we have a labs that are built so that you can have some hands-on, you can configure ADCs, everything is available. So you can visit it once so that Terraform will be handy for you, and it's definitely easy for you. It makes your life very much easy. So this is about the structure that we have. Now let's deep dive into the demo. So all we have is configuration files. We have Terraform installed. Everything is installed. Everything is in place. Now we'll jump into how to apply this configuration to the target NetScalers. So as we know, we have an empty standalone NetScalers, and we are going to SSH into them. And as a default thing, we are gonna change the password of each NetScaler, and we'll quickly save the configurations. And yeah, similarly, we'll do the same for the second node as well. We'll SSH into it, change the password really quick, and yeah, save the configurations. So as you know, these are the standalone ADCs which does not have any configuration in them. So we have everything set. We have ADCs configuration files. Everything are in place, and we'll just apply the configuration now. So let's first go into the folder one, that is step one, the configure HA. So all here we have is 4 files as I described before, and these are called the configuration files in the Terraform terminology. And we are going to see. I have modified version.tf according to the new password that we have changed right now. And yeah, similarly for the 2 ADCs as well. I have provided the information of 2 ADCs, and in the example.tf vars, I have changed the NetScaler IPs to the new values. And we have configuration file. We have 2 ADCs in place. So the first step is to initialize the backend. So it's nothing but we'll initialize the local folder. So it is done. It is done by a single command called Terraform init. So Terraform init, when we just type Terraform init, Terraform automatically initializes a backend. We does not require to do anything manually. And as here you can see, initializing the backend is nothing but it will Terraform internally fetches the things from its databases and installs the things into the local folder, so that in the subsequent run, those things will be used to configure the NetScalers. So this is about initialization, and the next command that we have is Terraform apply. So Terraform apply, what it does is it will scan all the .tf files, and basically it will scan all the configuration files, and it will produce a plan. So here you can see it will produce a plan. So here we have 8 to add is nothing but 8 resources, individual resources. Example, add node 1, add node 2, and add system parameter, change RPC node password, and all. And at the end, it will ask for the prompt wherein so this is a plan that I'm going to execute. So do you want it to execute, or do you want to make any changes? So it will ask the user to type it as yes if it is okay. Then when we just type it as yes, so quickly the 2 NetScalers are in HA. So here you can see apply completed, and yeah, things are ready. So we'll SSH into the primary node to check whether the configuration are synced. So let's show node. So show node, here you can see the configuration has been applied. So the things are very quickly. So this is the power of Terraform and infrastructure as a code, basically. So in the next thing, so the step one is now completed. So step one, we have configured HA. We have two Netscalers that are in HA deployment, and then now we'll apply the gateway configuration to the target ADCs now. So let's go on to next step, that is applying configuration to the gateway configuration to the primary Netscaler. So here, along with the four files that I recently showed you, that is configuration files, we have a few more files, that is the certificate files. So user has to give the certificate files that are necessary for the gateway deployment. So we have written a resource in such a way that it will scan, or it will scan for the local folder, and it will fetch these resources with the name, and then it will transfer the files to the target Netscalers when we apply the configuration. So similarly, we have configuration ready, and as I said, the first command would be Terraform init. The Terraform again initializes a backend. So Terraform is a folder specific. So we have executed Terraform init to the other folder previously, so it is not gonna affect here. So we have to again write the Terraform, give the Terraform init, so that it will be initialized again. So the next step is Terraform apply. So Terraform, we have written resource in such a way that whenever we give Terraform apply for the HA thing now, it will ask for what is the primary node ID. So as you can see, the user has to specify the primary Netscaler IP, so that the configuration will be pushed to the primary. And similarly, during apply, it will plan the things. So it will scan all the configuration files. It will say that these are the resources that needs to be added. So would you agree to, if we approve, then it's gonna apply those things. So here you can see the things are really quick. So what Terraform does is it will apply the things as parallelly as possible. Until and unless we don't have any dependencies, the resources are gonna apply to the Netscaler really quick and parallelly. So here you can see the 122 resources are applied in just 15 to 20 seconds time span. So what the power of infrastructure as tool gives us. And it really makes the life of a Netscaler admin really easy and flawless. Now that the configuration are intact, we'll just log in to the primary Netscaler via GUI, and I'll explain what are the things that we configured recently. So in the gateway, we have a virtual servers, and under virtual servers, there are policies that are linked. There are two session policies that are linked to the virtual servers, and here you can see SSL profile, authentication profile as well, that are bound to the virtual server. So in the application authentication vServers, we have authentication policy bound, and in the authentication policy, it is bound to radius as well as the LDAP policy. And also we have defined a login schema in the configuration, and it is bound to the authentication vServer as well. And really quick, we have defined load balancers as well, load balancer vServers, wherein for radius, storefront, LDAP, as well as a DNS, we have a authentication virtual servers. Yeah. So regarding the high availability, as we saw, the two nodes are in HA and two nodes are up and running, and primary and secondary are up and running. So for the user administration, we have made a groups and authentication. In the authentication, we have policy, as we saw, LDAP and radius policy as well, and it's binding to the global. So this is about the demo. Thanks a lot. I'm gonna hand over this to Ronin again. Thanks.
Super. Yeah, we have a few questions popping in there. If you can take a look at some of those, that would be fantastic.
Yes, one answer to Carl. Do we have a tool that can parse the configuration, the current NS configuration? We are working on this. It is one of our initiatives right now. So what we're trying to build is a script that is going to parse the NSCon file and produce from the NSCon file a Terraform project, a Terraform template for your existing configuration. We're working together with Rohit on this. Rohit, do you want to share more details?
Yeah. The thing is, we have leveraged some functionalities of our Terraform called Terraform Init, wherein it will try to import the things that are present in the already present in the Netscaler. So we are working on it, and soon we'll post an update regarding that. Yeah.
Another question: if we can see an example where the configuration is going to fail. We don't have an example handy on this to show something like this right now, but please send an email to us at NetScaler-automation toolkit at cloud.com, and we can schedule a call so that we can also demonstrate to you also this. It's a simple use case, it's just that we don't have this now ready to demonstrate.
Also, we have a GitHub repository wherein you can post issues there. We'll take a look at it and we'll update you very quickly.
As Rohit mentioned, we have worked to create a new GitHub repository so that you can have all the information required handy, because we indeed have many repositories out there, because we do offer, let's say, several Terraform providers. We have also the Ansible modules. We have tons of repositories out there, examples, all of these things. What I would suggest is, please visit this repository. It's a new repository that we released recently, NetScaler Automation Toolkit. It's this URL. Just start this repository, whatever works for you, so that you can track any update that we are adding here. Anything related to the NetScaler Automation Toolkit is here, meaning that you will have the ability to find information about the community that we are trying to build, links to the community. You are going to find information about all the events that are taking place around automation. You have links here to see on demand all the previous recordings that we did with NetScaler community. You will have the ability to access directly through the links here, also the labs that we have on the NetScaler community. It would make it easier for you to access everything. In addition to that, you will have the ability to find also all the blogs on the NetScaler community for Terraform and for Ansible. And we also have a number of YouTube videos, previous recordings that we have done so far. Also, new recordings will also be there. In addition to that, you will find all the repositories for our Terraform providers, from the Ansible modules, anything related to that. So these are the repositories that we are using for the implementation. It's open, everything is open sourced, so you can go there, see the implementation. If you find a bug or you need, let's say, a new feature, you can also open a GitHub ticket there. With Rohit, we are working on this and we are responding to our customers there. In addition to that, this is also, let's say, a number of links for all the examples that we currently have, how to deploy on Azure, how to deploy in AWS, on GCP, on ESXi, how to use the ADC provider, the SDX, the ADM, all of these things, and of course, Ansible playbooks when it comes to Ansible. So use this GitHub repository. It's a consolidated list of everything that we are doing on a NetScaler Automation Toolkit. And if you don't find something here, throw an email here. Me, Rohit, and the other colleagues will respond to you, and we can cover anything required. So this is what I want to cover. Back to you.
I was waiting for someone to ask, why didn't we configure the secondary device? Obviously, in our HA Power, we only have to configure the primary, right? So that is obvious to the long timers here. We had one question coming in asking us how does the error handling. There is error handling there, something we can speak to. I guess when we look at our APIs going forward and how APIs work with NetScaler, what we're planning on is something that's fully what we call atomic. And that means that when we do have an issue with something, that there is a full rollback then, so you don't have a half configured appliance. So there is an awareness of that in some of the products, some of the tools that we use. I know in our in ADM and Stylebooks, for example, there is that functionality there. things may be different in the Terraform and Ansible world. I think we are going to take a look at training materials, training labs. So that's, you covered that, didn't you? Slides. You covered the toolkit. Anything else you want to speak about, Kostas?
Yeah. Yes. As a matter of fact, we shared all these links on the GitHub repository. Everyone can find these links there. What you can find here is the labs that we are offering. These are let's say, and let me switch to that. You can access any of these labs to learn more about Terraform, how you can use Terraform to do specific things. We are covering basic configuration, but we are going to share more labs here. The ultimate goal for us is to release, let's say soon, a course for Terraform and the course for Ansible, so that you can also learn how to use Terraform with Ansible and Ansible, let's say, with NetScaler. You can access any of these labs. You will have, let's say, a Bastion host and the VPX provisioned on GCP for you, and then you will have access to the terminal, and through terminal you can learn how to use, let's say, how to apply Terraform commands. In addition to that, if you want, let's say, to learn more, you can access several articles on the NetScaler community of how to create your own labs on your infrastructures. These are the Terraform ADC provider and the ADC and the ADM Ansible collection. Again, these are already there on the GitHub repository that I have shared, and these are the links of the Terraform providers that we are offering in the Ansible modules. So you will have access also to see more details about how you can use Nitro, the public cloud templates, and several things like that.
So yes, we have coming up, we have live demos on June 21st. We have a NetScaler Connect session, as you can see, on June 22nd. Please sign up to our community website. There you can ask us questions. You know, we have our developers, we have our subject matter experts on there to answer your questions. We also post previous videos. I saw some of the questions coming up. Will this be on YouTube? I think it may make its way to YouTube, but the links to all the previous live demos we've done have all appear, they'll all appear here on the community site. So not only do you get notified of upcoming ones, you can see everything that you have, everything that we've done previously. So ask questions, get answers, get enabled, and also do hands-on labs. If anything that you saw today was interesting, if you've never tried Terraform before, we have a hands-on lab for you on the NetScaler community that allows you to trial that. So, you know, click in, try rolling out some configuration with Terraform, see what it's like, and then, you know, then you can play around with it on your dev NetScaler, right? That is all we have for you. Please sign up for the upcoming events. You'll get you can register there, save it into your calendar, and we look forward to seeing you then. So on behalf of everyone, Stephen, thank you very much for your demo. Rohit, thank you for walking through those Terraform configuration files. And Konstantinos, thank you for spearheading the NetScaler automation campaign. So making everyone's lives easier.